Hey, welcome to the DevOps Institute Leader course, sample exam question. I'll explain them as we go along. Okay, first question. In what way does DevOps differ from traditional IT? So, yeah, this is a little tricky question. Actually, I'm reading these answers and in the sense that, IT does tend to focus on large batch sizes, while DevOps doesn't. It prefers small incremental batches. So one could argue that A is an acceptable answer because is different from that. But I think they're trying to say, how is DevOps maybe better and different? And certainly large batch sizes is not preferred, so I wouldn't choose A. Centralized scheduling, again, tends to be associated with traditional IT and not DevOps. Do not fail culture is more kind of a pathological structure and is not preferred for DevOps. And then autonomous dedicated cells tends to be more associated with DevOps than it is with traditional ITs. So D, I think, is the answer they're looking for. But again, be careful, because if you really just legally parse the question, one could argue that they're all different from each other. But I believe, D is how DevOps is not only different, but better than traditional IT using autonomous dedicated cells. So indeed, that's the answer. Number two, what are high velocity managers in place to do? So answer A, ensure organizations are self-diagnosing. That is compatible with this idea of autonomous, self-driven teams. So A is a good answer. What about B? Evaluate a set of thorough, contrived metrics. Generally speaking, you want the teams to work on their metrics and have a set of metrics that are tied to the application pretty well, or at least the strategy. So B is not as good an answer as A. B rate, I'm assuming they mean B rate people. That's generally not a good idea in any case, but certainly it's not a good idea for high velocity managers. So not C. Command and control, again, no, because in DevOps you want, along with high velocity managers, you want more of an autonomous structure. So D is not a good answer. The best answer, therefore, is A. Yes. Okay. What is not a category bias? Yeah, so yeah, I happen to know the answer is C. Financial. If you go back to the chart, there was a chart in the deck called cognitive bias in business. It lists a lot of different kind of biases, and they categorize into 4 categories. So one of them was financial, the other was social, one of them was short-termism. So C is not the right answer. And D, failure to estimate, was another one. So the best answer here is C. I mean, it just makes sense anyway. You do want people to think longer term, not just short term, even as they're working on things in small batches. So that's not so much a bias. Anyhow, if in doubt for something like this, I again encourage you to go open up the slide deck and do a search for something like bias, and you're going to find the answer. Okay. Question 4, how can a value stream map be used to identify improvement opportunities? So certainly a value stream map does help provide, because you're putting down in a diagram the time sequence of the value stream, it can indeed help identify opportunities where you're spending too much time or a lot of time that you might want to improve. Illustrating how end-to-end work is done, that's certainly true. It does do that, and you may, by seeing that in a value stream, identify improvements, identify ways to remove waste. Yeah, it's possible that could also be true. And then finally, A and B. Since they didn't provide an option of A, B, and C, I think the best answer is probably A and B. So let's see. Yep, that's what they're looking for. Again, if in doubt, go back to the slide, do a control, find on the deck to look for the slide that's talking about value stream improvements or something like that. You might have to search around a couple of times to find it. But this is an example of one that I know I probably would have marked D, but not 100% sure. So then when I have a little bit more time during the cert, I would go back and double check my answer. Okay, let's keep moving. Identify the missing words in the following statement about Conway's, the missing words in the following statement about Conway's law. Which statement about Conway's law is correct? Systems design reflect, okay, you may recall Conway's law indicates that the organization structure kind of mimics the product structure. So it's nothing to do with industry standards. So the A is not a good answer. Team size, not directly. Technology environment, no. Organization design, yeah. So D is the best answer. Yeah. Okay. What is not a desired outcome of DevOps? Autonomy, mastery, and purpose. That's a desired outcome. Faster decision making. Yes, certainly. Dependency management. Okay, so here's one. With DevOps, you want to favor breaking dependencies so that you can deal with things in a more autonomous manner than managing dependencies. So C, I think, is a good answer. D, incremental change is certainly something you do want for DevOps. So the best answer is C. Yeah. In the context of DevOps, which of the following likely presents waste in a value stream? Peer-reviewed changes, not necessarily. Release management team, could be. Test-driven development is usually more optimal. Cloud-based self-service is not waste. So I'm guessing the release management team. Yeah, because you want to automate the release decisions as much as possible. You may have a team, but it's just that, rather than having them as part of the, as a gating part of the process, instead you want the policies to be gating part of the process, and they should be processed immediately. Otherwise, you have to wait for the team to gather to make a decision, and that's kind of a bottleneck, which you don't really want. Okay. Identify the missing words in the following sentences. Unlearning requires individuals to forget everything they had previously learned. I hope not. You certainly don't want to erase your brain. Reframe once useful mindsets. Maybe. Let's see what else is here. Unconsciously let go of useless information. I don't know if it's unconscious. Is not really the real. Naturally osmose. Okay, take in new information. I think it's B, but let's see. Yeah, it's more like purposefully reframing what was useful information before, but mindset. But going forward, you want to be able to update your framework, if you like, because of the whatever new things coming along, whether it's culture, process, or tech. All right, which role works with the product owner and management on priorities and work assignments across squads in the Spotify model? Okay, which role? Okay, so we're talking about the Spotify model, and you have to just recall how that structure worked. So as you may recall in that model, the tribe is a concept, beyond a squad, but it has relevance across multiple squads. So tribe lead is definitely a candidate answer. Squad lead, no, because that's for within the squad. An agile coach really isn't specific to across squads. You could have agile coaches in every squad potentially. Chapter also doesn't have, it's not specific to across squads. So I think A is the best answer. Yeah. Okay, let's do the next one, 10. Identify the missing words in the following sentence. A soft gain when thinking about DevOps return on investment is what? Revenue from accelerating time to value to new functionality. Okay, so this is the idea of you're going to get more revenue because you're able to produce more product, basically. And that, I think, is not so soft. So maybe that's not the best answer. Let's look at the rest. Reducing the cost of delivering value. Well, the ROI is a factor of both, revenue and costs. I think costs, yeah, isn't a soft gain. It's more of a hard gain. It's more concrete. Number C, improvements that allow to be done more with the same. Yeah, I mean, that can be calculated. That's more of a hard gain. Improved market perception. That's a little soft, but it's true. So I would guess the answer to the question is D. Yes, okay. What is not a metric collected when mapping a value stream? Total lead time. You definitely want to know that. Volume of defects. Not directly, no. In fact, I have my own philosophy about counting defects. It's not as important as some other factors that some people think. Percent of rework. Yeah, see, that's relevant, right? Certainly that's a good one to keep. And cycle time, yes. So the best answer here is B, volume of defects, right? Question 12, which of the following practical outcomes relates to the DevOps design principle of having long-lived products and teams assigned to value streams? So let's read that. It's a long sentence. Again, I'm trying to, do this as if I was doing it myself on the assert, and I would reread it. Any long sentence, I would recommend you reread it just to make sure you got it clear. Which of the following practical outcomes, so we're talking about outcomes, relates to the DevOps design principle of having long-lived products and teams assigned to value streams? Okay, so this is the idea of you don't want to just have let's say a DevOps team for just one project or one pass through a pipeline or something. You want them to stay together and work together. Okay, so work is finished, technical debt is not created and or paid off. Well, that's generally not a good idea in any case. So A is not a good answer. Waste avoidance and improved quality. That may be an indirect benefit, but I don't think it's a direct answer. Avoiding dependency management, allowing teams to behave as autonomous units, not waiting for other teams to contribute to be ready. That I like, yes. Keeping teams together so they can work autonomously. Reduce silos, wait times, and improving dynamic learning culture. I like that too. But I think C is a more direct answer. No, okay. When work is finished and not traded or paid off. I got that wrong. So, I'll be honest, you're going to have to remember that one. I would go back and look at the slides. I probably would have got that wrong. I think C and D are not a bad answer. Let's see, work is finished, technical debt is not created or paid off. Okay, well, that's true, but you certainly don't want to just load more technical debt, but I don't yet understand why these teams would never create technical debt. I guess I'm being a little bit of a purist. Anyhow, this is an example. I probably would have got that wrong, but if in doubt and you're not sure, like there are a couple of other answers that kind of make sense. Probably the best thing is to go back to the slides and do a lookup. Do a first pass of all the CERT questions. Choose the answer you like the best, but indicate any ones you're really not 100% sure of and go back and double check with the slides. Okay, which of the following is a communication goal of transformation leadership? Communication goal. So improve communication between dev and ops. Certainly that's an important goal. Shorter feedback loops, yes. Automated communication that allows people to access instant access to each other? Yes. Communication that inspires people to see that change brings opportunities. Okay, so maybe I misread, I didn't properly read the question. I guess they're saying, what should transformational leaders communicate to their teams? If that's really what this is asking, then I think D is the best answer. Yeah, yeah, because they're talking about communicating and inspiring people. Right. Okay, so the D. 14. Which of the following is a characteristic of an organization design? An organization design, strategic macro design. Usually that's more top down, so I would say not A. Deconstructed micro level design. Um, yeah, but this organization design again, so maybe. Describes the vision for people, process, organization, information, technology, customer segments, channels, products. Okay, having a clear description, clear vision for all of that. I like that. Includes a roadmap between the different states. I don't think so. I would have chosen C, but I would have said B is also a possible answer. So I probably would have got that wrong. Again, I would have double checked the charts. So B, again, I keep telling you the strategy. So D is a valid answer for sure. I kind of like C, but which of the following is a role in the Karpman DARPA triangle? You remember this is like the Karpman drama triangle. This is like a description of the different drama roles. So there was a victim for sure, a creator, a challenger, and a coach. Yeah, so these are more of the TED, solutions. The one on the Karpman drama triangle was victim, so victim is the answer. Yeah. Okay. What is a characteristic of a transformational approach to change? Authority delegated and distributed? It's not terribly wrong. Let me see what else they have here. Decentralized decision making. Yeah, maybe incremental. Yeah, maybe orchestrated from the top. Mm, all of these have some validity, so I probably would again mark this as not sure. Go look it up to see just what the chart said. Orchestrated from the top. Um, I probably would have chosen that one. Yeah, like the word orchestrated is important here. It's not that they're dictating everything, but they're setting the vision and orchestrating the overall activities, even though there are decentralized or decentralized teams that are making decisions at a micro level, but from the leadership level, at least orchestrated from the top makes sense. Okay, what is a characteristic of a teal organization? So you remember this is like the highest level of maturity in the different organization colors. So power was certainly not one. Control, not so much. Self-management for sure, yes. Hierarchy, not so much. So B is the answer. Yeah. What is a chapter in the Spotify model? A community of interest, a collection of squads. No, that's a tribe. A small family of people with similar skills. That's a guild. An autonomous team. No, that's a squad. So I think it's community. Small family of people. Oh yeah, right. Sorry, I got that wrong. So it's a small family. Yeah, I was thinking about the guild is. I got that mixed up. So yeah, it's C. Identify the missing words in the following sentence. The ability to whatever is characteristic of high performance organizations that makes it possible for them to take on more risk. Okay. The ability to recover from failure allows them to take on more risk. That's true. Exceed productivity goals has nothing to do with risk. Achieve faster lead times. Uh, Indirectly, but really the more direct is A. Automate software delivery. Again, indirectly, yes, but I think A. Yeah. Which statement about how DevOps IT or organizations approach failure is correct? What statement about how DevOps organizations approach failure is correct? Fail early? Yes, that's true. You don't want failures to propagate before they get more expensive and do more harm. Do no harm is certainly true as well. Failure is part of learning. Yes, that's certainly true. A or C and C. I could argue that A, B, and C have some validity, but if I was going to choose just two, it's probably A and C. So let's go with D. Again, I would double check the chart, but looks like that was correct. Oh, long question here, so be aware and careful. A team of individuals representing development, IT operations, quality assurance, and security has been with mapping out a value stream. Some members want to get right into brainstorming of ideas and improvement, mapping out the desired future state value stream map. What would happen if they took this approach? Okay, so they're basically saying what will happen if somebody working on current state value stream wants to jump to working on the future state value stream before the current state is finished, which is, I've seen that happen, by the way. It's not unusual. People want to get excited about when they see some possible improvement, they want to jump over to that, but you want to finish the whole value stream first because you may see some other things that are higher priority. So, okay, so let's see what they say. They would save time. Maybe on that one item, but maybe not overall, no. So that's not a great answer. They would lack the data needed to quantify improvements. It depends on where they stopped in the current state value stream map. So there's some validity in that. They could immediately begin optimizing work with their teams. Not really, because they haven't got the whole picture yet, so you don't know whether they're working on the most optimal thing. They could identify quick wins, maybe. But again, I think the benefits of continuing would outweigh this. So I think the best answer here is, as I said, B. Yeah. Okay. All right. Question 22, or a little more than halfway through. In the squad model, which grouping of people cuts across the whole organization and welcomes anyone to join? Yeah. So squad is within a small group. Tribe is a group of squads. Guild is across the whole organization, typically in a chapter. I think it's guild. Yeah. Allow anybody to join just as a sort of a community of interest. Okay. What is the suggested approach in the flow manifesto? Define continuous delivery goals through customer value. Okay, lead time is a week. No, it's not that specific. Ignore emotions. No. Avoid pivoting. It's all about value. I think A is the best answer. Yeah. What are the 4 C's involved in training from the back of the room? Okay, you remember that was the book. Communicate, collaborate, coordinate, and consolidate. Courage, curiosity, challenge, and candor. Connections, concept, concrete, and conclusion. Collaborate, culture, change, and conclude. All right, so this is a very specific question on a very specific slide. There is no way I would, leave my answer without checking on the slide. I happen to remember that consolidate was not one, candor was not one, and conclude was not one. So that would eliminate A, B, and C, and it would be A, B, and D, and it would be the best answer would be C. But again, I would probably mark C and then mark the box that says, I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to check the slide before you submit your answers. Let's see what they say. Yeah, C. Okay. Okay. 25. Teams of what type of people are desirable as they increase flow of work, because we are not waiting for subject matter experts to pick up the work, but people have multiple roles and can adjust to the highest priority work at any time. Specialists? No, that's what we just said, not SMEs. T-shaped people, okay. People that have broad and skills and deep in one area, no. Pie-shaped, where they've got broad expertise and a couple of areas. Comb-shaped has multiple areas of expertise, so probably D. Yeah. 26, which statement about what happens when blame exists in a culture is correct? Some of these questions are awkwardly worded, but okay, so which of these statements has to do with when blame exists? Learning happens? Not normally. People shy away from learning when they're getting blamed. Desire to understand the system. Desire to understand the system grows. I don't understand the answer, to be honest with you. Let me come back to that. People cover up their errors. Maybe I'm reading the question wrong. When people, what happens when blame exists? Okay, not so you know the bad things about what happened when blame exists. So certainly learning doesn't happen. So that's not the answer. Desire to understand, okay, that's not going to happen. Covering up their errors, that does happen. Innovation increases. Okay, so C is the best answer.